our opening speaker here, Mr. Jerry Norcia, we want to continue to engage this issue at the highest levels of corporate and community leadership. Normally, an opening keynote would be us listening to the speaker gives a talk for half hour, and then we'll delve into Q&A. But we've decided to do this as a Q&A for the next 60 minutes to engage Mr. Norcia on a number of issues. And I'm sure some of you have a bone to pick with him in light of the recent power outages. Jerry, thank you so much for being here this morning to kick us off.
Good morning, Bankole, and thanks for having me here. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be with you this morning.
All right, I want to begin. There's so much I want to talk to you about in the next hour here, and I also want to note quickly before I go into it, Jerry, we have 15 students from Detroit Public Schools who are joining us, and 2 students are going to be asking you questions in the second half of the Q&A. But I want to go straight into the issue of the power outage here in the region. Can you explain to this audience what happened? So many families found their lives disrupted by that. And you are the man at the head. The buck stops with you as the chairman, president, and CEO of DTE Energy.
Sure. So a few weeks ago, a storm came through Metro Detroit. With 70-mile-an-hour winds, which are basically approximately level 1 tornado winds, and it created a lot of damage. And right after that storm, about 85% of our customers remained with power, but 15% of our customers were without power. And we know how much disruption power outages create for our communities where we live and serve. And so we mobilized very quickly to restore power. But I will tell you, this is unacceptable. The fact that, these high winds that have evolved over a number of years continue to create significant power outages. So about 5 to 6 years ago, Bankole, we started to see this climate change trend where wind velocities were increasing and the frequency of wind velocities were increasing. And we also saw the advent of more electrification, in other words, more demand on the system. So at that time, we made the decision to really start to ramp up our tree trimming efforts. And I think you've heard a lot about that publicly, where we've taken our investments from $60 million a year in tree trimming to over $200 million this year. And also our investment in the grid, replacing older poles and wires and transformers to make things more resilient and more reliable. We've increased our capital deployment from $250 million a year to this year we'll invest $1.3 billion to replace thousands of poles and miles of wires and cable. But I will tell you, this will take some time to get to our destination of creating what I tell my team, what we need to build for our customers is a flawless grid of the future. And that will take heavy investment, and it will take time. Every day, every week, every year, our system is better, but still at an unacceptable state when we have these high wind events that tear up trees and damage homes and also damage our wires.
So what do you tell those families whose lives were upended by the outage itself? What would you tell them? I mean, they're listening, and you said hopefully we get to a point where this becomes we get to arrest this problem.
Well, first of all, I tell the families, I know your pain, I know your suffering when you go through a power outage. In today's modern society, power is fundamental to power our lives. People working from home, families that have children, this creates a lot of turmoil for families and people. And so one is know that DTE is doing all they can do to sort of remediate this as we've seen weather patterns change and we're seeing demand coming. We are preparing for this, but it's going to take some time. And we ask for patience, but we also know that we restore as quickly as possible. Like, for example, in 48 hours, we had 95% of our customers back on. And within 3 days, we were essentially done restoring customers. So it does take time to restore, but we mobilized over 3,000 people and put 3,000 people on the job immediately. Then we're working 16, 18 hours a day. And we need to get the trees off our system. So we need cooperation from our homeowners and businesses to get trees off the wires, and we also need support to make the necessary investments to take a system that wasn't built for 70 to 80 mile an hour winds to make it resilient to those type of climate attacks, if you will.